I'm Dwayne Brown. Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, forecasters say we have a good chance of a lot of rain in the new year. We'll have a look at what it could mean for the drought.
Plus, a dangerous new trend for tech-loving kids. I'm Peggy Pico with how to improve video gamers' health during the holidays and beyond. And meet Cookie, one of thousands of dogs up for adoption in San Diego County. How to find the right fit when bringing home a new pet.
And we get a lesson in 16th century Italian comedy from a San Diego theater group. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Hi, good evening. Thanks for joining us. Climate watchers say California could be in for a wetter than normal winter. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson joins us from the newsroom with more on the forecast. Eric, we haven't seen a wetter than normal forecast for some time. What does that mean for us?
Well, Dwayne, forecasters feel pretty confident that Southern California is going to have a wetter than average winter this year. They say they don't expect this to be a monster rainfall season, but there is a 75% chance that the first 3 months of the year will be average or wetter than average rainfall as far as those totals are concerned. Now, the first quarter forecast has been for drier than average conditions for the past 5 years.
So what does this mean for the prolonged drought?
Well, it doesn't mean the drought is over, that's for sure. Officials say that would require an extraordinary season of rainfall. But climatologists do say the expected precipitation could improve drought conditions. Federal officials say this past month's rainfall has already allowed climate watchers to downgrade the current drought conditions in some areas of California from extreme to severe. And officials say that could improve another degree or two before spring arrives.
What's going on that's changing our local forecast?
Well, a lot of the attention is focused on the Central Pacific Ocean. Earlier this year, researchers were saying there was a pretty strong possibility that a prominent El Nino condition was developing. Even now, ocean temperatures are warmer than normal off the coast of San Diego, but the ocean warming isn't as pronounced as it was expected to be along the equator, and that sapped some of the power of an El Nino. There will be an impact. It just won't be as strong as it could have been.
KPBS reporter Eric Anderson. Exactly 2 years after the dedication of a solar manufacturing plant in Rancho Bernardo, a published report says the company is on its deathbed. Soitec was supposed to create 450 jobs making solar panels for SDG&E and another company, but Voice of San Diego reports Soitec has no contracts with either company. SDG&E says it's taken unprecedented action to work with Soitec, but the company missed deadlines. The utility says it hopes to work with Soitec on future projects. KPBS did reach out to Soitec for comment, but did not get a response. San Diego's unemployment rate is holding steady at 5.8%. It's still lower than the state's rate of 7.1%. That's about the same as the national average. San Diego's Economic Development Corporation says more than 13,000 jobs were created here over the past year. President Obama is promising to respond to a North Korean cyber attack on Sony Pictures. It prompted the studio to pull a movie from release this week. Kelly Daschle of the Associated Press has more on the investigation.
The Obama administration on Friday formally accused the North Korean government of being responsible for the devastating hacking attack against Sony Pictures Entertainment, providing the most detailed accounting to date of a hugely expensive break-in that could lead to a U.S. response. In a statement, the FBI said it has enough evidence to conclude that North Korea was behind the punishing breach, which resulted in the disclosure of tens of thousands of leaked emails and other materials. The statement said, quote, North Korea's actions were intended to inflict significant harm on a U.S. business and suppress the right of American citizens to express themselves. And it said such acts of intimidation fall outside the bounds of acceptable state behavior. The FBI's case cited, among other factors, technical similarities between the Sony break-in and past malicious cyber activity linked directly to North Korea. Obama administration officials had previously declined to openly blame North Korea, but said they were weighing various options for a response. The statement Friday did not reveal what options were being considered. The hacking escalated to terrorist threats that prompted Sony to cancel the Christmas release of the movie The Interview. The comedy is about a plot to assassinate North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un. Kelly Daschle, Associated Press.
The parents of Colorado theater shooter James Holmes are pleading for his life. His lawyers say he was having a psychotic episode when he killed 12 people and wounded dozens of others at a movie theater in 2012. His parents live here in Rancho Penasquitos. Today, they put out a statement asking for a plea bargain. They say Holmes has a severe mental illness. Some survivors and relatives of victims say it's a plea for public sympathy before his trial next month. The federal government is penalizing 7 San Diego County hospitals for high rates of medical mistakes. The move is part of a nationwide crackdown. KPBS health reporter Kenny Goldberg joins us from the North County Bureau. Kenny, what are these penalties about?
These hospitals are being fined for preventable conditions, things like bed sores, blood clots, urinary tract infections, and patient falls, things like that.
And how much are the penalties for these hospitals?
Each hospital is being penalized 1% of their Medicare payments from last October through next September. Now, there's about 700 hospitals being fined nationwide, and all told, the fines will amount to about $373 million. So it's not an insignificant amount of money.
Yeah, we just saw the 7 that are being fined here in the county. Why is the Medicare program imposing these fines?
Well, Medicare has been taking action to improve patient safety for a number of years. As a matter of fact, since 2008, Medicare has stopped paying hospitals to treat for preventable conditions like bed sores and blood clots and the kinds of things they're fining hospitals now for. So this latest round of penalties is just their effort to show they're even more serious about it.
And it seems we hear these reports coming out at least once a year. How effective has the effort been to actually cut down on medical errors in hospitals?
Well, hospitals have improved. There was a recent federal report that showed between 2010 and 2013, hospitals' medical errors were reduced by 17%. So federal health officials say that's a good start, but they want to see a lot more improvement.
From our North County Bureau, reporter Kenny Goldberg. A new state law is expanding hospice care to patients with Medi-Cal. It takes effect on the first of the year.
Chronic conditions that are advanced in condition, perhaps cancer, heart disease, kidney disease, Alzheimer's, or ALS.
She also says there is a shortage of hospice care providers. In the beginning, the focus will be on raising awareness while the details of putting the new law into practice get ironed out. Technology gifts topped the list for Google searches this holiday season. Peggy Pico has some advice and tips when buying tech for kids.
From iPads to smartphones, video games to other electronic devices, it's no surprise that kids are big consumers of technology, especially during the holidays. But as my guest, Emil Ahangarzadeh, Digital Solutions Director with the County Office of Education, explains, it's important to find a healthy balance for tech-loving kids. And Emil, how does playing video games, being on a computer or a smartphone too long actually cause eye strain, and what can you do about it?
I think it has a lot to do, first of all, with the blue light energy that's coming off of the screen. First of all, there's a lot of strain that gets put on the eye, specifically with that blue wavelength. And so, as you can see, I've got my my Bono glasses on.
Yes, I was wondering if that was a fashion statement, but it's really for eye strain.
Well, my friends think that I'm trying to be cool, but I'm actually really trying to prevent the pain that I experience. I've been staring at screens now for at least 3 decades, from the mid-30s and mid-80s.
Mid-80s. This will be a long time. How do those yellow glasses work?
I think there's again, I'm not a product specialist, but my understanding is that there's this a synthetic layer of something called melanin that they put on the top, inside, and the front side as well, that not only filters out that blue light, but also filters out the fluorescent lighting that comes down from my office. So it, for whatever reason, makes my eyes feel
eye
easy.
stream.
Yeah.
Now, the term couch potato should actually be called computer potato these days. There's a medical link between obesity and spending a long time online and doing things like that. Kids, we know, aren't going to give up their video games. So how do you encourage children to get the physical activity they need without, unplugging them?
Yeah, you're right. They're not going to give this stuff up, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and as a result, it's going to be very difficult to get the kids to stop. But I can tell you what's worked for me, and I play video games. I play simulation games myself. I use a stand-up desk, and what the stand-up desk allows me to do, basically, is to constantly be moving, and it helps with my metabolic process, and it helps with my blood flow as well. And I believe there's something to be said about obesity, but there's also something to be said about folks avoiding diabetes. And I've actually even read some studies that suggest that prolonged sitting and staring at a desk, at a screen, it can actually bring about symptoms of cancer, if not cancer itself.
Really?
I
haven't heard that.
Yeah, I heard somebody say that sitting is the new smoking.
Oh, sitting we can't quite go into that, but we will at some other point, because I want to get to this 20-20-20 rule for kids and adults. What is that?
It's a rule that suggests that for every 20 minutes of screen time, you should take a break for 20 seconds and stare at something that's 20 feet away. And what that does is it helps avoid myopia, I believe is the medical term.
Right.
And
staring at something too close for too long.
That's right. And when apparently the 20-foot level is just the right amount. Of course, what ends up happening, Peggy, is that the kids or the people who are staring at these screens are so enraptured by the rich content that's coming off of the screen itself that 20 minutes comes and goes in a snap, and they have no idea it's gone. And so there's some really interesting software that parents can install. Right, there are. There's one called Awareness. One is called Timeout, and most of these are free. And what these apps do is, in essence, they give you a little alarm. Say, hey, 20 minutes has gone by. It's time to take a 20-second break.
And some I actually understand actually time you out. They'll
That's
give
right.
you a 20-second time, which that might be kind of challenging during a game. Let's move on to this GoPro situation now. That's a hands-free camera that you can attach to just about anything, even a surfboard. It can get wet. And I understand it's causing some hazards for children.
It really is. It's really more the culture. It's not the camera that's causing it. It's the what kids do with these cameras, which is extreme sports, extreme stunts, because they want to post it on YouTube or send it to their friends via their phones and show how crazy that they really are. And so I don't want to blame the technology. The technology is certainly enabling this from taking place, but what parents ought to do is be very careful when they purchase these GoPros. I'm certainly not suggesting that they shouldn't purchase them for their kids.
Right.
But be
and
aware.
just have a nice conversation that they might prompt the kids to get some good video up there on YouTube, as kids might do. And
that's right. That's
silly. Technology, though, is not an all bad thing. I like technology. You like technology. It's being used in the classroom. How is it being used in the classroom to help kids learn better?
Well, there are a number of wonderful software packages that are out being used by many school systems nowadays. Of course, just having a computer allows you to be able to access the rest of the planet, this network of wonderful information out there. But I can certainly tell you that I'm seeing more and more interesting software coming out to help the needs of students who suffer from ADD or ADHD. One, for example, is
dyslexia too.
Dyslexia as well. One of the most interesting ones that I've come across is called Kurzweil 3000. It's a software package that has an iPad component to it called Firefly. And what this software allows people to do is to scan any document, and the software has this thing called optical character recognition that will take the content of your school books, the latest newspaper, and digitize the entire system for you. Are you familiar with this?
I have heard of it. Unfortunately, we are out of time, so there is more about it on our website, kpbs.org. Emil, Ahangarzadeh, thank you. Happy gaming and happy holidays.
You too. Thank you, Peggy.
They harvest our food while living in horrible conditions in Mexico. It now takes less time to get from Tijuana to San Diego. What's the impact of that? And Chula Vista has a new mayor, new school board, and a new council member. I'm Mark Sauer. Join us for those stories on the Roundtable tonight at 8:30.
Who doesn't love a dog's wagging tail or the purr of a cat when you finally come home from work or a trip to the store? Peggy Pico tells us how to adopt a pet that's right for your family.
I'll just say it up front. I love animals, and so do an estimated 600,000 other pet owners in San Diego County, a number that takes an upswing during the holidays when pets are brought home as gifts. But how do you know if a dog, cat, bird, hamster, or other pet is a good fit for your family before you bring it home? Here with some tips on choosing your new family member and how to keep your pet you have safe during the holidays are my guests, Jessica Girk and veterinarian Patricia Carter and Cookie with the Helen Woodward Animal Center. Welcome to all three of you.
Thank you.
Now, Jessica, I understand you've had almost 3,000 pet adoptions this year, a record.
That is a record
for the center. And Cookie here is up for adoption. Tell us a little bit about her.
Yes, she's a 2-month-old Chihuahua blend. You see, she's a really mellow. A lot of people think of Chihuahuas as being very yippy. She's a really mellow Chihuahua blend.
She's falling asleep on us here. I don't know how to take
all
that.
dolled up in her dress. I think she's just so relaxed with you. But she's up to date on all her vaccinations, microchips, spayed, and she has a $399 adoption fee, and she's just a fabulous girl. You can find her at animalcenter.org.
Well, what are some key questions, either for people looking to adopt Cookie or other pets, to ensure that it is a good fit? What should you ask before coming in to look to get a pet to bring home?
Well, it's wonderful because if you go to Adoption Center, they will ask you these questions. They want to find out what type of home you live in. Do you live in a big home with a big backyard, or do you live in a townhouse or a condo? How many people are in the family? How often are they home? How many hours a day? Do you have a brand new baby? Are you a maybe new married couple that want to go out on walks or runs on the beach? Those types of things will all factor into the type of animal that you want to bring home.
And Dr. Carter, you oversee the medical department at the Helen Woodward Center. Since these are rescue animals, Cookie and others that are rescue animals, how do you determine their temperament? How do you determine what is going to be the best fit?
Well, actually, when they come in, they go through a medical and a temperament test with our staff, and then as they're there, they're not put out immediately for availability. They're watched, and we get to know them a little bit, and the staff that works with them, they get to kind of know them, and then they can match up the pet with the families coming in looking.
Well, I know that poinsettias, the plants, are toxic to animals, and we know to keep them out of harm's way. What other holiday hazards are there out there for pets, and how do we protect our pets during this next couple of weeks?
There's just so many things going on at the holidays. You just have to be careful about ribbons. I've already had dogs coming in that have eaten ornaments off the tree. Kittens will climb up the trees and chew on the lights, and we don't want them to get electrocuted. Dogs especially like to open up presents under the tree that might have chocolate in them, or bread that might have raisins that can cause problems.
Keep foods out of the reach of people.
Right. You want to make
animals
sure,
like Cookie.
You want to make sure anything that goes under your tree doesn't have food in it.
All right. What happens, when do you know, if you could tell us in a nutshell, when do you know when it's time to take a pet to the vet? Like, let's say your dog eats an entire fruitcake. Is that going to be something you need to go to the vet? Or is there a certain time where you say, all right, this is the sign?
Well, I would always give a call to your vet first. They may want you to bring him in. It depends on the size of the dog and also the symptoms that the dog's showing. If you have a little dog Cookie size and ate a whole fruitcake, that dog is probably going to be pretty lethargic, vomiting and diarrhea, and it probably needs to be seen. If you have a 200-pound dog, you know, he may be acting perfectly fine, and then you can wait. But it's always a good idea to call your veterinarian, I think.
Well, Cookie right now is not in a food coma. Just completely mesmerized by my voice in this interview, I can see. Now, Jessica, getting back to finding the right pet and the right fit, you have special needs pets up for adoption. What kind of special needs and what kind of families are you looking for those pets?
You know, we don't always have special needs pets, but we do see them because they do come to us. 90% of our animals come from other rescue facilities. So sometimes we'll have a deaf dog, sometimes we'll have a tripod, which is 3 legs instead of 4. Sometimes we'll have a senior dog or a senior cat, maybe that's diabetic and needs shots daily. And sometimes we have people come to us that really would like to adopt because they want to help a special needs pet. So if you come to the facility, we can talk to you about the special needs that each one of those animals has and find out if the lifestyle will fit taking care of that pet.
All right. Well, we do have tips and links to your website on how to get through the holidays here and finding your perfect pet. Jessica Girk and Dr. Patricia Carter, thank you so much. And Cookie, thanks for joining us. I'm glad you're awake here.
Thank you.
I'm Hari Srinivasan on the next News Hour. President Obama talks to the press before heading to Hawaii for a family Christmas vacation. That's Friday on the PBS News Hour.
Commedia dell'arte is comedy style from 16th century Italy, but it's easily recognized by modern audiences. You've probably seen it in your favorite sitcom. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando shows us how something old connects with folks in the new millennium.
He's very fast. He's not that old like, oh, no.
Ivan Rupnik is hard to keep up with. And even harder to make sit still.
I don't know what kind of variations you have to invent. Of course, it is a lot of this.
Which makes him the perfect person to be teaching Kronos Theater Group's upcoming Commedia dell'arte workshop.
This will be a 4-day workshop, which will allow students a chance to learn about the characters, about the masks, about the movement. In other words, to learn a little bit about the Commedia tradition and to learn how they as actors can apply themselves to developing the characters.
Commedia dell'arte is a highly theatrical style of performance that emerged in 16th century Italy. It relies on stock characters defined by distinctive masks, costumes, movement, and language.
It's not everyday talk. So it is a research of also the voice. Oh, what's the E?
These stock characters have held true for centuries and refuse to go out of style, no matter how hard we strive for political correctness.
Woman. And, of course, other things also. Sex.
It's a very broad style of comedy.
I have to go to my pocket to take something. So, oof, here it is. I mean, the gestures are bigger.
Not small.
Everything is bigger. So if it is smile, it is really ha, 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 ha.
But it's also very precise.
To learn control and to learn character. If you make sharp character decisions, that's from an individual level. But on the second level, an actor doesn't work alone. So really what Commedia teaches you is timing and working with others in a comedic way. And if it's sharp timing and if it works, everybody laughs.
And that's a skill any actor would want in his toolkit. Rupnik takes one of the traditional Commedia masks and show how with the proper technique, he can convey a lot, even with half his face covered.
The aspect with masks, it's really different. Of course, the face, most of upper face is covered, but still the eyes, it's open. You know, the eyes are always the first impression when you saw someone on the stage, when you sit in the audience. So the eyes are really, they express a lot. And then the down part with the down nose, down, like all around here, then it is to express a lot. It's actually a lot of gym, I think.
And a lot of facial gymnastics as he displays in taking on the character of the miserly, drooling Pantalone.
Pantalone is the one which is then, I have to prepare. And then Pantalone with money around the neck. And then it is, and then he wants to see young girls.
But Commedia dell'arte can also have a poetry to
When it is in the face, it just, you see, you notice these movements have to be very fragile, like timeless movements. That's very hard for nowadays educated artists. It's very hard to accept that that's timing.
And timing is key.
If you've ever done any improv, you know you have to have a beginning, you have to know how you're going to end. And along the way you have your kind of beats. And you always have to kind of, what we say, put a button on it. So if you do something, you have to sort of finish it. And everything has to be punctuated very, very sharply because, again, it's just about movement. So this type of thing is really the room where you bring in your shtick, what you're good at.
For us actors, it's always how we actually come to the stage. Not to say the first line to the other actor. Actually, how you enter, how you walk. If it is fast, or it is...
Rupnik's versatility is breathtaking.
It's always to find, actually it is about to find some kind of expression, and then you always have to prolong it a bit.
And he insists on giving me a brief lesson in commedia character technique.
Look to the other side. Here, look at me.
With a flourish of 16th century disdain, this is Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
Yeah, that's good. That's great. You see? Already it is.
Kronos Theater's Commedia dell'arte workshop begins December 27th. For more information, go to Beth's Cinema Junkie blog at kpbs.org. A warming trend continues with sunshine for the weekend. Clouds along the coast tomorrow, but clear the rest of the weekend. Slightly warmer for the inland valley, temperatures there in the 70s. Cooler in the mountains with some clouds, about the same in the desert, but a lot warmer with temperatures in the 70s on Monday. A forecast of wetter than usual weather is one of our top stories tonight. Federal climate watchers say California could get above average rainfall in the first 3 months of the new year. They put the chances at 75%. The federal government is penalizing 7 San Diego County hospitals for high rates of potentially avoidable mistakes. The penalties are for things like bed sores and blood clots. The hospitals will have their Medicare payments cut by 1% through next September. San Diego's unemployment rate is holding steady at 5.8%. It's still lower than the state's rate of 7.1%. That's about the same as the national average. San Diego's Economic Development Corporation says more than 13,000 jobs were created here this year. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend.